coordinate grid's vocabulary, we're going to start with the main parts of the coordinate grid, which is the horizontal axis, horizontal meaning going side to side, and that is this one right here. The horizontal axis is the x-axis. And then we have the vertical axis, which is to the left, and that is the y-axis. The point where the two axes cross, or where they meet right here in that corner, that is called the origin. Think of origin as the beginning of something, and the origin is where you're always going to start when you're graphing points. So we use a system where we use what is called an ordered pair to name a point in the coordinate plane. That is kind of like the address. That is how you know where to find a certain point. So in an ordered pair, it's going to look kind of like this. You're going to have parentheses and two numbers separated by a comma. The first number in the ordered pair is the x coordinate. So in this ordered pair, the x coordinate would be 3. We're just going to call that the x coord. And these are long words, remember, so if you need to pause the video to write that down, please do. And the second number is the y coordinate. So in this ordered pair that we're looking at here, that y coordinate is going to be the 2. Okay, so the x coordinate tells, in this ordered pair, the x coordinate is 3. And that tells us the distance from the origin along the x-axis. So that tells us how far we go from side to side. And the y-coordinate, 2, tells us how the distance from the origin along the y-axis. So that tells us how the distance that we go, or where we locate that going up or down. So let's look at this ordered pair here. We're going to call this point A. And if we were going to plot that point, we would start at the origin, always start at the origin, and we are going to go over, because first we go side to side or along the x-axis, over 3 and up 2. And that point is going to go right there in that corner where 3 and 2 meet. And if you need to take a second to pause your video and number your grid so that you have 1 through 10 and on the x-axis and 1 through 10 on the y-axis, go ahead and do that. Make sure they are lined up with, the number is lined up with the line, so you know exactly where that point needs to go. Okay, so the point that we just graphed had an ordered pair of 3, 2. And we are going to label that as point A. Let's do one more. Let's do point B. And we'll say that point B is an ordered pair that has an x coordinate of 5 1/2 and a y coordinate of 5. Okay, so I'm going to go start at the origin. I'm going to go over, I'm going to zoom in here so it's easier to see. I'm going to go over to the x coordinate, which is 5 1/2. So this coordinate grid is set up in increments that are whole numbers. So I'm going to go in between the 5 and the 6 because it's 5 1/2. And then I'm going to go up 5. So this point is actually going to be in the middle. It's not going to be right on the corner like point A was. But that's okay. We're going to do the best that we can to get it as close to 5 1/2 over as we can. And that is point B. One thing that's very important to remember is that the origin, the ordered pair of the origin or the address of the origin is always at 0, 0. Because you start, here is 0, you go over 0, you go up 0. It's right there in the middle. That's the origin. And the last definition on this page, or the last note on this page, says that the x and y axis are perpendicular to each other. I just spelled that wrong. Where the x and the y axis meet, they are going to form a right angle. Flip the page over to the next side if you are ready. If not, please pause your video and catch up what you need to. This asks you to draw and label the x-axis, the y-axis, and the origin. We have done that on the other page, but the x-axis is going to be the horizontal axis. The y-axis will be the vertical axis. And the origin is going to be right here. Okay. This page gives you some ordered pairs to practice graphing. It also lets you know that sometimes you will have ordered pairs that will be represented in a table instead of just the ordered pair, but this means the same thing. This table with the x and the y is the same thing as if it was a parentheses, comma, parentheses. So take a moment to label your graph, number that with the 1 to 10, just like on the other page. 7, 8, 9, 10. And you're going to use this page and these points. First, you want to give them each a letter so you know what you're plotting. And you are going to place those points on the graph right here and have that checked by your teacher.